The human mind is a labyrinth, a sprawling expanse of shadows and light where potential lies dormant, waiting to be awakened. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist who plumbed the depths of the unconscious, and Friedrich Nietzsche, the German philosopher who dared to gaze into the abyss, offer two of the most compelling frameworks for understanding this potential. Jung's archetypes and Nietzsche's Übermensch emerge as twin beacons, illuminating the path toward self-realization. While Jung invites us to explore the collective unconscious, a vast reservoir of inherited patterns shaping our psyche, Nietzsche challenges us to transcend ourselves, to become something greater than we are. Their ideas, though distinct, intertwine in a dance of tension and harmony, revealing the boundless possibilities of the human spirit. Imagine a world where we are not just products of our past, but architects of a future, forged in courage and insight. This is the promise they hold. Jung roots us in the timeless, while Nietzsche propels us toward the infinite. Together, they ask, what are we capable of? The answer lies not in dry theory, but in the living, breathing struggle of existence, a struggle that defines us, whether we acknowledge it or not. Jung's concept of archetypes is a window into the soul's ancient machinery. These are not mere symbols, but primal energies, universal patterns etched into the human experience across cultures and epochs. The hero, the shadow, the wise old man. These figures populate our dreams, myths, and stories, acting as guides and warnings. For Jung, they are the building blocks of the psyche, inherited from a collective unconscious that binds humanity together. Picture a medieval knight slaying a dragon or a modern-day whistleblower risking everything for truth. Both embody the hero archetype, driven by an inner call that transcends personal gain. Jung believed that by recognizing and integrating these archetypes, we unlock our potential, aligning our individual lives with something larger. Yet this is no easy task. The shadow, that dark repository of repressed desires and fears, lurks beneath the surface, threatening chaos if ignored. To engage it requires courage, a willingness to face the parts of ourselves we'd rather deny. Jung's genius lies in this paradox. Growth demands descent before ascent. Through this process, we don't just discover who we are, we begin to glimpse who we might become, a vision that echoes Nietzsche's own radical aspirations. Nietzsche's Übermensch, or Overman, is a different beast, a call to break free from the shackles of convention and mediocrity. Where Jung seeks integration, Nietzsche demands creation. The Übermensch is not a fixed archetype, but a horizon, a state of being that emerges when we overcome the herd mentality and embrace our own power. In Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Nietzsche paints this figure as a creator of values, a being who dances atop the ruins of old gods and worn-out morals. Imagine a person who, faced with life's absurdity, doesn't crumble but laughs, a laughter born of strength, not despair. This is no superhero in the comic book sense, but a deeply human ideal, forged in the crucible of suffering and will. Nietzsche saw the death of God, the collapse of absolute truths, as an opportunity. Without a divine script, we must write our own. Yet this freedom is perilous. It requires us to confront the void, to wrestle with doubt and nihilism, and to emerge not as victims, but as victors. The Übermensch is thus a psychological summit, a peak we climb not by escaping our humanity, but by embracing its fullest, most defiant expression. The interplay between Jung and Nietzsche begins to sharpen when we consider their views on the self. For Jung, the self is a totality, an integration of conscious and unconscious elements achieved through individuation. This journey is introspective, a pilgrimage through the psyche's hidden realms where archetypes serve as both map and compass. Picture a man sitting in quiet reflection, piecing together the fragments of his dreams, slowly realizing that the chaos within him holds meaning. Jung's self is a circle, a mandala of wholeness, where every shadow cast by the light of awareness finds its place. Nietzsche, by contrast, sees the self as a forge, a site of relentless hammering and shaping. His Zarathustra declares, "You must become who you are," a line borrowed from Pindar but infused with existential fire. This becoming is dynamic, a process of self-overcoming that rejects stasis. Where Jung seeks balance, Nietzsche revels in tension, urging us to push beyond comfort into the unknown. Both, however, agree that the self is not a gift, but a task, a potential we must wrestle into being, whether through quiet revelation or bold assertion. Consider the archetype of the shadow, one of Jung's most provocative ideas, and its resonance with Nietzsche's philosophy. The shadow is everything we refuse to see in ourselves: our greed, our rage, our petty cruelties. It's the monster under the bed we pretend isn't there, yet it shapes us as surely as our virtues do. Jung argued that confronting the shadow is essential to growth. To ignore it is to live half-blind, projecting our darkness onto others. Picture a leader who condemns corruption while secretly hoarding power. His shadow rules him, not the other way around. Nietzsche, too, grappled with darkness, though he framed it differently. His will to power acknowledges the raw, often brutal drives within us, but he saw them as fuel for creation rather than shame. The Übermensch doesn't deny the shadow but harnesses it, transforming base instincts into something sublime. Where Jung seeks to reconcile, Nietzsche seeks to transcend. Yet both recognize that human potential hinges on this confrontation. To become more, we must first face what we are, a truth as unsettling as it is liberating, a thread that binds these thinkers across their differences. The hero archetype offers another lens through which to view their convergence. In Jung's framework, the hero is the ego's champion, embarking on quests that mirror the soul's journey toward wholeness. Think of Odysseus battling his way home, or a scientist risking ridicule to pursue a breakthrough. Each embodies the hero's courage to face the unknown. This figure recurs in every culture, a testament to its universality, and Jung saw it as a blueprint for individuation. The hero slays dragons, yes, but those dragons are often within: doubt, fear, inertia. Nietzsche's Übermensch shares this heroic spirit, but elevates it to a cosmic scale. The Übermensch is not content to slay personal demons. He redefines the battlefield itself, crafting new values from the ashes of the old. Imagine a philosopher king who doesn't just rule but reshapes what it means to live well. For both, the hero is a symbol of potential unleashed. Jung's through integration, Nietzsche's through transcendence. Their visions differ in scope, yet they converge on a shared truth. Greatness lies beyond the ordinary, reachable only by those willing to step into the fray. Nietzsche's critique of morality adds a fiery twist to this dialogue. He saw traditional values, especially Christian ones, as chains on human potential, promoting weakness under the guise of virtue. Slave morality, as he called it, glorifies humility and obedience, stifling the strong in favor of the meek. Picture a society where ambition is sin and conformity is saintly. Nietzsche recoiled at this, urging us to forge our own ethics. The Übermensch is his answer, a being who creates meaning without bowing to dogma. Jung, less iconoclastic, approached morality through archetypes like the wise old man or the mother, seeing them as guides rather than tyrants. Yet he too warned against blind adherence. An unexamined life, tethered to collective norms, stifles individuation. Imagine a woman trapped by societal expectations, her dreams buried under shoulds. Jung would call her to listen to the unconscious. Nietzsche, to shatter the mold entirely. Both reject passivity, though their methods differ. Nietzsche's hammer strikes at external idols, while Jung's scalpel dissects internal illusions. Together, they challenge us to question, are our values ours or borrowed? The answer shapes our potential more than we might dare admit. The role of suffering unites these thinkers in profound ways. Jung saw suffering as inevitable, a crucible through which the psyche is refined. The descent into the unconscious, with its shadows and turmoil, is painful but necessary for growth. Picture a patient in therapy, reliving old wounds to find healing. Jung would say this is the hero's journey in microcosm. Nietzsche, too, embraced suffering, but with a defiant twist. "What does not kill me makes me stronger," he famously wrote, casting pain as a teacher, not a tormentor. The Übermensch rises from suffering, not by escaping it, but by willing it into meaning. Imagine an artist who channels loss into a masterpiece. Nietzsche would nod approvingly. Both saw suffering as a gateway to potential, though Jung's path is restorative. Nietzsche's transformative. Where Jung seeks to mend the fractured self, Nietzsche uses the fracture to build something new. This shared reverence for struggle reveals a deeper truth. Human greatness is not born in ease, but in the fire of adversity. To shy away is to forfeit growth, a lesson as timeless as it is hard-won. Dreams for Jung are the royal road to the unconscious, teeming with archetypal whispers. They're not random but revelations, coded messages from the depths. Picture a recurring dream of falling. Jung might see it as the shadow signaling imbalance, urging confrontation. He believed that by interpreting these visions, we tap into our potential, aligning with the collective wisdom they carry. Nietzsche, less concerned with dreams as such, spoke of life itself as a kind of waking dream, a chaotic tapestry we must shape. His Übermensch doesn't decode symbols but imposes them, turning existence into art. Imagine a poet who doesn't just dream of flight but builds wings from words, Nietzsche's ideal in action. Yet both recognize the power of the irrational. Jung systematized it, mapping the unconscious with scientific rigor. Nietzsche celebrated it, diving into its wild currents. Dreams or not, they agree that potential lies beyond the rational mind's grasp. To reach it, we must venture into twilight zones, whether through analysis or audacity, where the self's hidden riches await. This interplay of structure and freedom makes their visions not just complementary, but electrifyingly alive. The collective versus the individual marks a key divergence. Jung's collective unconscious ties us to humanity's shared heritage, a sea of archetypes we all swim in. Picture a ritual echoing across centuries, from tribal fires to modern altars. Jung saw this as proof of our psychic unity. Individuation, though personal, draws from this well, balancing uniqueness with universality. Nietzsche, meanwhile, scorned the collective as a herd, a force that flattens the exceptional into the mundane. His Übermensch stands alone, a solitary peak rising above the plains. Imagine a visionary shunned by the crowd, forging ahead regardless, Nietzsche's hero in flesh. Yet even here overlap emerges. Jung's individuated self, fully realized, is no conformist. It too breaks from the herd, albeit quietly. And Nietzsche's solitary creator still speaks to a human impulse, a potential latent in us all. Both grapple with the tension between belonging and becoming, offering no easy answers. Do we rise by rooting ourselves in the past, or by cutting it away? Their dialogue suggests both, a rooted rebellion, a collective transcendence. It's a paradox that fuels the quest for potential, unresolved and endlessly fertile. Art and creativity bridge their philosophies with vivid clarity. Jung saw art as the unconscious made visible, archetypes spilling onto canvas or page. Picture a surreal painting, its symbols pulsing with primal energy. Jung would call it a mirror of the soul. He believed creativity heals, revealing truths we can't speak directly. Nietzsche, ever the poet-philosopher, saw art as life's justification. We have art in order not to die of the truth, he wrote, casting it as a shield against despair and a sword for creation. The Übermensch is an artist of existence, sculpting meaning from chaos. Imagine a composer weaving discord into harmony. Nietzsche's spirit sings there. Both viewed creativity as a pinnacle of potential, though Jung tied it to discovery, Nietzsche to invention. For Jung, the artist channels the collective. For Nietzsche, he defies it. Yet their visions converge in the act itself. To create is to transcend, to touch something eternal, whether through archetype or will. This shared reverence elevates their thought beyond psychology into the realm of the human spirit, where potential isn't just unlocked but unleashed. The concept of God, or its absence, sharpens their contrast. Jung saw the divine as a psychological reality, an archetype of the self reflecting our longing for wholeness. Picture a cathedral stained glass, glowing with symbols. Jung would say it's the unconscious speaking. He didn't care much for theology, but saw God images as vital to the psyche's health. Nietzsche famously declared God dead, burying him with glee. For him, this wasn't tragedy but liberation, a chance to replace divine authority with human will. The Übermensch steps into that void, a self-made deity of sorts. Imagine a man standing on a cliff, shouting into the wind not for salvation, but for power. Nietzsche's triumph. Yet both grapple with meaning in a godless age. Jung finds it in the depths within, Nietzsche in the heights beyond. Their approaches differ, but their question is the same. How do we live when the old anchors fail? Potential, they suggest, lies in our response, whether we seek the sacred in ourselves or forge it anew. This tension electrifies their thought, making it as relevant now as ever. Time plays a curious role in their frameworks. Jung's archetypes are timeless, rooted in an eternal present where past and future collapse. Picture a myth retold across millennia. Jung saw it as alive, shaping us still. His psychology is cyclical, a return to origins that propels us forward. Nietzsche's eternal recurrence, meanwhile, is a test of will. He asks us to imagine living our lives infinitely, every moment repeated. Would we embrace it? The Übermensch says yes, affirming existence in all its mess and glory. Imagine a prisoner who, instead of despairing, loves his chains for what they've taught him, Nietzsche's radical saying. Both see time as a canvas for potential, though Jung paints with memory, Nietzsche with resolve. Their temporal dance reveals a shared insight. We are not bound by clocks, but by how we meet the moment. To unlock our potential, we must transcend linear traps, whether by diving into the timeless psyche or willing eternity into now. It's a challenge that stretches us beyond the everyday into the extraordinary. Freedom for both is the heart of human potential, but oh, how differently they wield it. Jung's freedom is inner, a liberation from unconscious tyranny through awareness. Picture a woman shedding old fears, her dreams no longer haunting but guiding, Jung's gift to her. Individuation frees us to be ourselves, fully and authentically. Nietzsche's freedom is outer, a breaking of chains, social, moral, existential. The Übermensch strides into a world unshackled, creating where others obey. Imagine a rebel who doesn't just defy, but redefines. Nietzsche's legacy in motion. Both see freedom as hard-won, a prize of struggle rather than a birthright. Jung's path is patient, introspective. Nietzsche's bold, explosive. Yet they meet in the outcome, a self unbound, radiant with possibility. This convergence suggests that potential isn't a state but a process, a freeing of the spirit that demands both depth and daring. Their visions, distinct yet intertwined, offer no simple map but a call to adventure, where the stakes are nothing less than who we might become. Love, too, finds a place in their thought, though it's a shadowed one. Jung saw love as an archetypal force, the anima or animus, the soul's mirror in another. Picture a man drawn to a woman not just for her, but for what she awakens in him. Jung's lens on romance. It's a path to integration, fraught with projection and discovery. Nietzsche's take is thornier. He distrusted love as a trap, a softening of the will. Yet his Zarathustra speaks of a love that overflows from strength, not need. Imagine a creator so full of life he gives without losing himself, Nietzsche's ideal. Both tie love to potential, though Jung sees it as union, Nietzsche as excess. Their tension mirrors life. Love can bind us to growth or drag us into stagnation. To harness it requires discernment, a balance of heart and will that neither fully resolves. Yet in this ambiguity lies richness, a reminder that human potential isn't sterile but relational, pulsing with the mess of connection. Their insights push us to ask, how does love shape what we might be? The body, often overlooked, grounds their philosophies in flesh. Jung saw the psyche as embodied. Dreams and archetypes emerge from a living organism, not a disembodied mind. Picture a dancer whose movements heal old wounds. Jung might say she's integrating through motion. He knew potential isn't abstract but felt visceral. Nietzsche, obsessed with vitality, went further. There is more wisdom in your body than in your deepest philosophy. His Übermensch is no pale intellectual, but a being of vigor, dancing through life. Imagine a warrior who fights not from hate but joy, Nietzsche's vision incarnate. Both reject the mind-body split, seeing potential as holistic. Jung's approach heals the rift. Nietzsche's exalts the whole. This shared insistence roots their thought in reality. Our becoming isn't just thought, but lived, breathed, sweated out. It's a call to embody our potential, not merely ponder it, a challenge as physical as it is profound. Their convergence here underscores a truth. We are creatures of earth, and our greatness must rise from it. Power, a word both seductive and suspect, threads through their work. Jung saw it in the psyche's dynamics. Archetypes wield power over us until we claim it back. Picture a tyrant humbled by his own shadow, his control slipping as he faces truth. Jung's quiet revolution. Individuation redistributes power inward, toward wholeness. Nietzsche's will to power is louder, a life force driving all things. The Übermensch doesn't hoard power but radiates it, shaping the world through sheer vitality. Imagine a leader who inspires not by force but by being, Nietzsche's dream. Both see power as central to potential, though Jung tempers it with balance. Nietzsche unleashes it with abandon. Their dialogue reveals a spectrum. Power can enslave or liberate, depending on how we wield it. To grow, we must master it, not as domination but as energy, directed toward creation. This insight, subtle in Jung, blazing in Nietzsche, frames potential as a force we don't just possess but become, a dynamic that pulses through every choice we make. Nature weaves into their visions, a silent partner in human potential. Jung saw the unconscious as a natural system, its archetypes like rivers carving the psyche's landscape. Picture a forest in a dream, whispering secrets. Jung would say it's the collective speaking. His psychology aligns us with nature's rhythms, seeking harmony. Nietzsche, ever the mountain wanderer, saw nature as a challenge, a wildness to match our own. His Übermensch strides through storms, not cowed but invigorated. Imagine a climber atop a peak, the wind his ally, Nietzsche's kinship with the elemental. Both tie potential to the natural world. Though Jung roots us in its depths, Nietzsche lifts us to its heights. This shared reverence suggests that our becoming isn't separate from the earth, but entwined with it, a dance of instinct and aspiration. Their perspectives converge in a call to reconnect. To unlock what we might be, we must listen to the world that made us, its lessons as vital as any book or dream. Death, the great inevitability, casts its shadow over both. Jung saw it as a psychological event, an archetype of transformation, the end that births renewal. Picture a dying man dreaming of a phoenix. Jung might say he's glimpsing the self's eternity. His work comforts, framing death as part of the cycle. Nietzsche stared it down with fiercer eyes. His eternal recurrence forces us to face mortality, not as loss, but as a question. Can we love life enough to live it again? The Übermensch answers yes, embracing death as fuel for affirmation. Imagine a soldier laughing in battle, not from madness, but from fullness. Nietzsche's defiance. Both see death as a spur to potential, though Jung softens its sting, Nietzsche sharpens its edge. Their tension mirrors our own. Do we meet the end with peace or with fire? Either way, they insist it shapes our becoming. To live well is to die well, a truth that binds their thought into a single urgent call to realize what we're capable of before the curtain falls. In the end, Jung and Nietzsche offer not answers but invitations. Jung's archetypes map the psyche's terrain, a lantern for the inward journey toward wholeness. Picture a seeker, lantern in hand, stepping through fog. Jung guides him home. Nietzsche's Übermensch is a trumpet blast summoning us to leap beyond the known into the possible. Imagine a figure on a cliff, not looking back but forward, ready to fly. Nietzsche dares us to follow. Their visions of integration and transcendence, depth and height, don't compete but converse, each enriching the other. Together they frame human potential as a vast, untamed country, ours to explore if we dare. The path is neither straight nor safe, winding through shadow and storm, but it's alive with promise. To walk it is to wrestle with who we are and dream of who we might be, a struggle that's both burden and gift. As we stand at this crossroads, their voices echo. The potential is yours. What will you make of it? The question hangs unanswered in the air. a challenge as eternal as the human spirit itself.